I want to begin by being honest about my own title in a way that may surprise you. Because the numbers coming out of China don't lie, we do, is a provocative inversion, and before I develop it, I want to concede something the title glosses over, because conceding it is the only honest way to make the point that actually matters. The concession is this: Chinese official statistics do have genuine reliability problems. This is true, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. The headline figures are smoothed, the local data is often inflated by officials with every incentive to report good numbers, the transparency is limited, and skepticism about specific Chinese statistics is entirely warranted. So the literal reading of my title, that Chinese numbers are perfectly honest, is false, and I reject it. And if I built the reflection on it, I would be lying to you in exactly the way I am about to accuse others of lying to themselves. The numbers coming out of China do, in a narrow and specific sense, sometimes lie. So what do I actually mean? I mean that the more consequential lie, the one that does the real damage, is not in China's imperfect numbers at all. It is in the story we tell ourselves, using the imperfection of those numbers as permission to dismiss a reality that is visible and independently confirmable regardless of the official statistics. The numbers may lie a little. We lie to ourselves a great deal more, and about something far more important, and that self-deception is the actual subject. Let me be careful, as always, about the two extremes, because this subject pulls people hard toward one of them, and both are wrong. The first extreme is the naive one, the insistence that Chinese numbers are honest and reliable and should be taken at face value, and this is wrong. Because they genuinely are unreliable in specific and well-documented ways, and taking them at face value is a real error. And the second extreme, the more common and more dangerous one, is the comfortable dismissal, the reasoning that because Chinese statistics are unreliable, the entire underlying reality is uncertain, that the whole story can be waved away, that the numbers are fake, so the thing they point at is fake too. This is the error I actually want to expose, because it is a piece of motivated reasoning dressed as skepticism, and it is precisely the self-deception the title is pointing at. The truth is, neither the naive trust nor the comfortable dismissal. The truth is that the numbers are imperfect and the reality behind them is nonetheless confirmable, that the unreliability of the official statistics is being used as a cover for a self-serving refusal to confront that reality. And the interesting and useful thing is the mechanism of that self-deception and why the lie we tell ourselves is so much more dangerous than any lie in the numbers. So let me start with a distinction that everything depends on, the distinction between the reliability of a number and the reliability of the reality behind it. These are not the same thing, and conflating them is the entire error. A number can be unreliable, while the reality it imperfectly measures is undeniable. The official figure for a country's output can be smoothed and inflated and untrustworthy, and yet the physical reality that the figure is trying to measure can be entirely confirmable through other means that do not depend on the official number at all. The infrastructure that exists can be seen directly with your own eyes, regardless of what any statistic says. The manufacturing output shows up in the import data of every other country in the world, in the goods arriving at everyone else's ports. And you cannot fake what physically arrives in the world's harbors, so that a country's real manufacturing can be confirmed independently through the trade data of its partners, entirely bypassing its own statistics. The energy consumption can be measured independently. The physical things that exist, whatever the official number claims about them. So the unreliability of the official statistic does not make the underlying reality uncertain, because the reality can be confirmed independently, physically, through cross-checks that do not depend on the number being honest. And this is the crucial thing that the dismissal misses. It conflates the unreliability of the number with the uncertainty of the reality, when in fact an unreliable number can sit on top of a completely confirmable reality, and the confirmable reality is what matters. The principles that determine how to confirm a reality independently, how to see through unreliable numbers to the confirmable truth behind them, rather than using their unreliability as an excuse, are worth studying deliberately and as a connected whole, and there is a body of work that lays them out carefully called the Naval Codex. It is not a forecast, and it is not a set of tactics. It is a systematic account of the underlying principles that determine who sees reality clearly, who confirms the truth through independent means, rather than accepting or dismissing the official numbers, whichever is more comfortable. If you want to engage with those principles directly, it is linked in the description, and there is a code on the screen you can scan to reach it. And engaging with the principles directly is what matters, because the skill of confirming reality independently generalizes far beyond any single set of numbers, and the numbers it applies to will always be different. Now let me develop the core mechanism, the way we use the unreliability of the numbers as cover for self-deception, because this is the heart of the whole thing, and it is genuinely uncomfortable to look at directly. Here is the move we make, and it is a subtle one, which is exactly why it works. We note, correctly, that Chinese statistics are unreliable. This observation is true, and it is respectable, and it sounds rigorous, like the careful skepticism of a serious analyst. And then we use that true and respectable observation as permission to do something quite different and quite illegitimate, which is to dismiss the entire underlying reality, to wave away the whole trajectory, to avoid taking any of it seriously. And the dismissal does not actually follow from the observation, because the unreliability of the numbers does not make the reality uncertain, since the reality is independently confirmable. But we let it seem to follow, because the dismissal is comfortable and the observation gives it a respectable cover. The legitimate skepticism, the numbers are unreliable, becomes a cover for the illegitimate conclusion. So I do not have to take the reality seriously, and the two are welded together so that the illegitimate conclusion borrows the respectability of the legitimate observation. This is motivated dismissal dressed as skepticism, and it is the self-deception the title names. We are not lied to by the numbers so much as we lie to ourselves, using the real imperfection of the numbers as the excuse, reaching the comfortable conclusion that the reality can be ignored, and dressing that conclusion in the respectable clothing of statistical skepticism. Let me develop why self-deception is so much more dangerous than being deceived by someone else, because it is the deep reason the lie we tell ourselves matters more than any lie in the numbers. Being lied to by someone else is a problem, but it is a manageable problem, because you can guard against it. You can discount the source, verify independently, maintain skepticism, hold the external liar at arm's length. There is a part of you standing outside the external lie, able to catch it. But being lied to by yourself is far more dangerous, because there is no part of you standing outside the lie to catch it. The same mind that tells the lie is the mind that believes it, and there is no independent check, no skeptical faculty held in reserve, because the faculty that would catch the lie is the very faculty that is telling it. And self-deception is comfortable, which is exactly why we prefer it, because it lets us avoid an uncomfortable reality while feeling rigorous, giving us the comfort of the dismissal and the self-image of the careful skeptic at the same time. This is why the lie we tell ourselves is worse than any lie in the official numbers. We can verify the numbers independently, hold them at arm's length, cross-check them against the trade data and the physical reality, but we cannot easily catch ourselves in a self-serving dismissal, because the self that would do the catching is the self that is doing the dismissing. And so the self-deception runs undetected in a way that an external deception never could. Here, I want to connect to the dimension that bears most directly on how you are positioned, because the same self-deception operates on the monetary reality, and it is perhaps the clearest case of using an excuse to avoid a confirmable truth. We tell ourselves comfortable stories about the monetary situation, using various respectable-sounding excuses to dismiss the erosion, to avoid taking seriously a reality that is independently confirmable in the fiscal numbers and the monetary dynamics and the loss of purchasing power that anyone can measure. The self-deception about the monetary reality is the same move. The reaching for a comfortable dismissal and the dressing of it in respectable skepticism, and it leaves us lying to ourselves about a monetary reality we could confirm independently if we were willing to look. The way capital actually moves as a monetary reality proceeds while people lie to themselves about it, where it flows and why, and what happens to those who deceive themselves versus those who confronted the confirmable truth is worth understanding in its specific mechanics, rather than in vague outline, and there is a framework that traces exactly this, called the Dragon Pivot. Despite the name, it is not really about any single country. It is about how monetary reality unfolds while people tell themselves comfortable stories about it, and how those who confronted the confirmable truth positioned themselves before the self-deception collapsed. You can reach it through the code shown on the screen or through the link in the description for anyone who wants the fuller picture. And that picture matters here precisely because the monetary reality is exactly the kind of thing that self-deception dismisses, a confirmable truth waved away with a comfortable excuse. This brings me to what you actually do, which is to confront the independently confirmable reality and act on it rather than hiding behind the excuse. The remedy for self-deception is not more skepticism about the numbers, because the skepticism about the numbers is being used as the cover, and more of it only strengthens the cover. The remedy is to go around the numbers entirely, to confirm the reality through independent means, to see it directly and cross-check it and act on what is actually there, whatever it shows. And in positioning, this means holding a position grounded in the confirmable reality rather than the comfortable dismissal, owning genuine productive capability positioned for the world as it actually is, confirmed independently rather than for the world the self-deception describes. The work of building a position grounded in the independently confirmable reality rather than the comfortable story we tell ourselves, owning genuine productive capability positioned for the world as it actually is worth doing systematically, and there is a framework devoted precisely to that called the Sovereign Vault. It is concerned with building durable, generationally significant wealth grounded in real productive assets and real institutional protection, the kind of position that follows from confronting the confirmable reality rather than deceiving oneself about it, rather than in the fragile arrangements that a comfortable self-deception mistakes for safety. It is linked below, and the code on the screen will take you straight to it for anyone who wants to go deeper on the question of how to position for the reality rather than the story. And that is the practical core of it, because confronting the self-deception means little if you continue to position based on the comfortable dismissal rather than the confirmable truth. Now, I want to spend real time on the even-handedness, because it is where the honesty of the reflection is tested, and this title makes it especially necessary, and I want to be scrupulous in two directions. First, I am not defending Chinese statistics, and I want to be emphatic about that. They genuinely are unreliable, and skepticism about specific figures is warranted. And the point is not to trust the numbers, but to see the reality through independent means that do not depend on the numbers being honest. So this is not a claim that China is honest and transparent, which it is not. And second, and this is the more important point, the independently confirmable reality cuts both ways, and it confirms China's real problems as much as its real strengths. The same physical and independent measures that confirm the manufacturing strength also confirm the property overbuilding, the ghost cities you can see with your own eyes, the demographic decline that is independently measurable, the genuine vulnerabilities that are as real as the genuine strengths. So the reality does not lie in either direction. It confirms the strengths and it confirms the problems, and honest sight sees both. And the self-deception can go in either direction. Some people lying to themselves by dismissing China's strengths, and others lying to themselves by dismissing China's problems. The complacent deceive themselves by waving away the strengths, and the alarmists deceive themselves by waving away the problems. And both are the same move. The comfortable dismissal dressed as analysis, and the remedy for both is the same, to confront the independently confirmable reality, whatever it shows. This is emphatically not a claim that China is stronger than we admit. It is a claim that we should see the reality clearly, both the strengths and the problems, rather than lying to ourselves in either direction. And the reason I frame it around our self-deception is not that the reality favors China, but that the self-deception, in whatever direction it runs, is the thing that keeps us from seeing clearly. And I want to turn the skepticism around, because honesty demands it, and it sharpens the point about self-deception. If we are skeptical of Chinese numbers, and we should be, then honesty requires applying the same skepticism to our own numbers, to our own official statistics, our own comfortable narratives, our own self-serving measures. Because the real self-deception is not that we believe our numbers and doubt theirs. It is that we use doubt selectively, doubting what is uncomfortable and believing what is comfortable on all sides. We are rigorous skeptics about the numbers that would force us to take an uncomfortable reality seriously, and credulous believers about the numbers that reassure us. And this selective skepticism, this deployment of doubt in service of comfort, is the self-deception in its purest form. True honesty applies the skepticism evenly to their numbers and to ours, and then looks through all of them, through every official statistic, on every side, to the independently confirmable reality beneath, refusing to let the doubt be selective and refusing to let the comfort choose which numbers to believe. I want to think honestly about why we lie to ourselves, why the self-deception persists even when it is named, because understanding the mechanism is the only defense against it. The first reason is the comfort of the dismissive narrative, that dismissing an uncomfortable reality is genuinely comfortable, and the comfort is a powerful motive to reach the dismissal and to accept any respectable-sounding excuse that permits it. The second reason is the respectability of skepticism, that doubting the numbers sounds rigorous and careful and intelligent, so that the self-deception can dress itself in the clothing of the serious analyst, and we get to feel rigorous while actually being evasive. The third reason is the absence of an independent check, that there is no part of us standing outside the self-deception to catch it, because the faculty that would catch it is the faculty that is doing it, so that the lie runs undetected in a way an external lie never could. And the fourth reason, the deepest, is that confronting the reality would demand something of us, would require us to take it seriously and to act, and the self-deception spares us that demand, letting us avoid both the uncomfortable reality and the effortful response, which is exactly why it is so tenacious, because it protects us from both the discomfort and the demand at once. These reasons together explain why we keep lying to ourselves even after the self-deception is named, because the comfort and the respectability and the absence of a check and the avoidance of the demand all conspire to keep the comfortable dismissal in place, dressed as skepticism, protecting us from a reality we could confirm if we were willing to look. I want to be very clear one final time about what I am not saying, because the misreadings here are dangerous and I want to foreclose them. The numbers don't lie, we do, is not a claim that Chinese statistics are honest, because they are not, and I have conceded their genuine unreliability throughout. And it is not a claim that China is stronger than the West or that the reality favors China, because the confirmable reality cuts both ways and confirms China's real problems as much as its real strengths. And it is not a defense of Chinese data or a call to trust it, because the whole point is to go around the numbers to the independently confirmable reality rather than trusting any official figures on any side. And it is not essentialism or a claim about any people. It is a claim about self-deception, about the human tendency to use legitimate skepticism as a cover for motivated dismissal. And it is not doom or triumphalism, because the remedy, confronting the confirmable reality, whatever it shows, is a calm and clarifying act, and the reality it reveals includes both strengths and problems, and seeing both clearly is the opposite of both doom and triumphalism. So I want to end, as I always do, not with an exhortation, but with an invitation to see clearly, because this is, in the end, one of the oldest truths there is about the mind, and it is not new. Self-deception is the oldest and the most dangerous deception, because it is the one lie you cannot easily catch, told by the very faculty that would catch it, and we are endlessly tempted to use the unreliability of others' numbers as permission to lie to ourselves about a reality we could confirm independently if we were willing to look. This is not new. What is new is only the specific circumstance, a particular set of unreliable numbers being used as a particular cover for a particular self-deception about a reality confirmable through the trade data and the physical evidence and the independent measures that we would rather not confront. And the particular selective skepticism that doubts what is uncomfortable and believes what is comfortable on every side. The numbers may lie, but the reality does not, and the question is only whether we will stop lying to ourselves about it. That is the thing I most want to leave you with. Go around the numbers to the reality, confirm it independently through the physical evidence and the cross-checks that do not depend on any official figure being honest, and see what is actually there, both the strengths and the problems, whatever it shows. Apply your skepticism evenly to their numbers and to ours, and refuse to let the doubt be selective or the comfort choose which numbers to believe. And confront the reality rather than hiding behind the respectable excuse. And the value of that honesty, of confronting the confirmable reality rather than deceiving yourself about it, invisible for a long time, the way these things always are, through the stretch in which the comfortable self-deception still holds, and the person who confronted the reality appears merely to be taking unreliable numbers too seriously, reveals itself the way these things always reveal themselves, which is slowly, in the quiet accumulation of decisions, grounded in the reality rather than the story, and then suddenly, at the moment, the reality we were lying to ourselves about becomes undeniable, and the self-deception collapses all at once, and the people who confronted the confirmable truth while others hid behind the excuse are found to have been, all along, simply the ones who stopped lying to themselves.